two. Part two, we are looking at deepening our back bends. So not necessarily compressing the spine, sinking, but working a little more range of motion up into the shoulders. So yesterday we did spinal extension, right? Locus. We worked the front of the hips, the strength of the glutes. And now we're going to add to that range of motion in the shoulders, right? Oftentimes, even to get into wheel, it's less about the spine and the back bend, it's all about your shoulder. And a part of that is going to be your thoracic spine. So we're still going to start in a little bit of supported fish today. So you can certainly use the bolsters like we did yesterday. If you do that, you want to bring them up to your sacrum before you fold back. I'm using blocks today to encourage both a little more acupressure as well as maybe a deeper back bend in the thoracic part of the spine. So again, shoulder region, you might need to kind of wiggle around so they're give or take under your shoulders, and you have room to drop your head. You can always support your head with a block or whatever you have around you, some of your kids' toys or a dog or something. And then we're looking to maybe open the palms. Maybe you bring arms out to a T. Or if it feels particularly good, you can stretch arms above your head, right? Reaching. That might be a little bit aggressive for the moment. But once you've allowed yourself to kind of sink in, find a little bit of breath, we're going to uchi your heels up your mat just a touch. You let both of them fall to one side. Just pick a side. You're going to feel a little more stretch come through your sacrum. Might feel like it's coming through the backside of your hip joint there, through the biscuits. And maybe you need to linger a little bit longer there this morning or afternoon, whenever you're doing this. We're going to take it to the other side. So, knees fall. Oftentimes we don't think about being tight in the throat. You have very large sternocleidomastoid muscles that connect your skull down to your collarbone, your top of your rib cage there, that are, I'm sure for most of us, certainly these last number of months, incredibly tense. So yeah, let your head drop a little heavier. As you come back, knees towards the sky, we're going to bring feet to touch. Knees to splay wide, a little bit of Supta Baddha Konasana. Just 3. As mentioned yesterday, we are looking to be able to ease ourselves into these postures. So trying not to hold on for dear life, not trying to force anything in particular. And then as you bring your knees up to the sky, you're going to start to activate the belly, tuck your chin. And as you come up, we'll get rid of your blocks. Don't put them too far. They'll be handy as we move through your practice today. Just going to cross your legs, come onto all fours. And we're going to set up a little cat and cow. Just like we did yesterday, super slow. Drop your low ribs, your belly, tilt the tailbone. So we're not trying to make this like locust. We want this to be soft and steady up through the spine. Roll the shoulders down, right? Don't press them down. Just draw the belly in, draw the pelvic floor up, and lift your gaze gently enough to open the throat. If you're squeezing anywhere, rinsing anywhere, it's going to be across the sacrum. Keep tilting the tailbone, driving your sits bones to the sky. And then we're going to put that in reverse. Gently come through neutral space and start to round the spine. So tuck the bum, tuck the chin, press the spine towards the sky. You can press from the palms a little, and then come gently back to neutral space. Very similar to your cow, we're going to use some blocks for what I call windowsill. And take them right in front of your fingertips. If you don't have blocks handy, Certainly a coffee table will do. You can get on your feet, find the counter, right? You can find an actual windowsill. Either one of those options are going to be great. And we're going to take the elbows to your blocks. Make sure your elbows are in line with your shoulders. You're going to prayer palm it, tilt your tailbone like you did for cow, and let your torso sink towards your mat. Head might start to fall through. Weight is way behind you, so you're balancing kind of on your knees, so you're not sinking the weight towards the shoulder region. And all of us are going to be a little bit different here. Might feel good to take a little cat and cow, alleviate some of that sensation, and if it works for you, you can bring your fingertips towards your spine. You're going to breathe here for 5. Continuing to work that gentle press of your heart towards the mat, the belly in, sits bones up. I have some weird tightness in the elbow. You may have something else happening in the body. Just make a little mental note. Take one more breath here. And then gently fingers to the sky, lift from the torso, and then find your palms. Hopefully your arms are still working. And again, keep those blocks somewhere close. You're going to curl your toes, and when you're ready, we'll come up for dolphin. So again, forearms, elbows in line with your shoulders, prayer palms. Curl your toes, and wherever you are, just drive your sits bones up and back. So a little bend in the knees. All about the shoulders, pressing them down away from the ears. Hopefully you feel a little bit of stretch coming through the shoulders there. Pressing from your forearms to drive your sits bones up and back. Keep pressing the shoulders down. 2, maybe draw your gaze between your forearms. And then slowly shift the weight. We're pressing up to your downward facing dog. 2. And we're going to step the right foot forward to a low lunge. So you can reach for your blocks, just like you would set up maybe for camel with blocks. Hips are sinking. Again, it's about those glutes. As you press the hip forward, we're going to build a little towards that camel, a little towards the back bend. So like locust, roll the shoulders down, right? Adjust your blocks as needed. Even though you can go lower, your low back might appreciate a little bit of lift here. And again, we're lifting the gaze. We're not dropping the head. Lift. Roll the shoulders down. Lift those low ribs and draw the belly in. Give that set of glutes one more squeeze here. Rinse the shoulder blades behind you. And then as you curl your back toes, we're lifting to fold Parsvottanasana. So bring your blocks with you. You can feel free to shorten the stance. Hinging mostly from the hips, but if you have a little bit of room, you're going to drop your head nice and heavy. Just a cycle of breath or 2. And as you find your flat back, we're coming all the way up for a little bit of pyramid. So again, square hips. Squeeze into the glute. And we'll extend the front leg on track. Interlacing your hands if you'd like. Or you can take those prayer palms, fingers to face up or down. But I'm going to invite you to take a little variation, which is to reach those arms up. Prayer palm, press. Maybe you kind of clasp a few fingers. Keep those hips pressing under. Low ribs lift, shoulders roll down. Gaze is going to follow. And we start to reach. Keep cycling through 3. Tuck the bum, lift the low ribs, roll the shoulders, and reach. And we'll come towards warrior 1. Settling in. We'll take 3 breaths here. Again, left glute presses the hip. You want to squeeze the quad. Lift those low ribs away from the pubic bone. Roll the shoulders down. Take one more reach with the gaze. And as you exhale, palms to heart, drop the palms. Wild thing. Take your right leg, plant it behind you. Left leg is straight and strong. We're going to press the hips. Wild thing introduces the stretch a little more down the side body. So less on the front. You're going to stretch up, maybe drop your head a little heavier, maybe work the gaze. 3, 2, and then come on back. Pressing right into your downward facing. Drive your sits bones up and back, and we'll step left foot forward. Back knee settles down, and you'll find your blocks. Find some breath. Squeeze into that right glute and press the hips forward. So you're not just sinking the hips, working that locust sort of up dog length through the spine. It's really, we get into trouble in the low back when we're compressing the spine, right? When we're sinking. So you want to stay lifted and long. One more cycle of breath. And take your blocks with you if you'd like. Curl those back toes. We're going to lift to find Parsvottanasana and fold from those hips over the front thigh. Just a little bit of stretch there for low back, sacrum. Maybe you're moving hips a little side to side. And then we're going to come up for your pyramid. So work slowly. Maybe you need to work a wider stance. Square the hips. Press that right hip forward. All about that right biscuit right now. Your arm variation of choice. Remember, you can certainly interlace. Hands to hips. But start to lift those low ribs. Roll the shoulders down. Squeeze the belly in as you lift to open the throat. Stay. If you're on board for that prayer palm, press to reach up mostly. Maybe a little bit back. 3. Again, tuck the bum, lift the low ribs, roll the shoulders, and reach. Settling towards your warrior 1. Just a slightly different space. Again, press that right hip forward. Draw the belly in. Lift those low ribs, roll the shoulders. Yeah, maybe a little horse breath, and then lift the gaze. All from the strength of those biscuits. Locust strength as you lift, and palms to heart, a slow release. You come through, left foot behind you. We're going to find most of that wheel right here, right? Pressing hips. It's going to invite a little more of the side body stretch. Again, from your glutes. Dropping maybe your head a little heavier. Press those low ribs up. Breathe in. And then as you exhale, come on back, right? Downward facing. Press your hips and then find your table. We're going to sit onto the heels. So tops of feet are on your mat. Again, bolsters, blocks might be really handy. You're going to have your feet on the floor, but we're working a deep stretch into the quads. So that's what we need first. Mobility in the front of the hips. We'll work into the shoulders. But for now, you're going to work your heels a little bit wider than your sits bones. So when you sit back, right, you can feel those little sits bones. Heels just a little wider, knees in line with your hips. So your knees don't need to touch. I'm going to use a bolster, so feel free to use some pillows or parts from your couch. If this is uncomfortable, maybe you're taking the bolster on the backs of your thighs. You can sit on a block or 2. Or you can stay just a little bit lifted. You're going to get a little more work in the quads. I apologize, but it'll pay off afterwards. We're going to find the palms behind you. You want to be able to press the hips, just like we've done a million times, so that we're protecting the low back. We're staying long through the spine, and then we lower a little bit. Maybe you come onto forearms. You might feel the block or the bolster underneath you. Again, press the hips. I'm exaggerating a little bit. So you're actively stretching the quads, and then we lower one more time. Again, if you have the bolster the longer way, you're going to get a little more of that opening for thoracic shoulders, which I'll invite you to do. But for now, you're sinking. trying to gently release some of the activation that you have in the hips pressing so you can settle into the stretch in the quads. I just exaggerated that release. You can take that a little bit slower. Or maybe it only works if you're activated. That's also something to note. But we want to create as much range of motion as we can so that your spine isn't taking the brunt of the force here. Now, if this feels good and you're finally relaxing and maybe you've never come to Virasana before, for whatever reasons, you can stay. Otherwise, I'm going to introduce either the bolster the shorter way, or for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to use those blocks again. Why? Again, you'll see a little more range of motion for the shoulders, kind of falling off the blocks. Again, press hips. Maybe it's more about the throat opener. Wherever you are, 8-7. Maybe it's just one block or you have something under your head. Remember, you're always going to make adjustments for whatever you need. It's no different than any practice. Even if I don't say something, doesn't mean it's not on offer. So engage your glutes a little bit, start to press those hips so your quads are active. And as we start to tuck the chin, we're activating the belly. Forearms, maybe palms, you can press into the soles of your feet if you'd like, so that as you come up, maybe you take a little revisit of your camel. Maybe no takers on that one. That's okay. So you're going to come onto your bum. And again, you can bring those blocks with you. As you set up for your bridge, think of all the things you've already done. Locust yesterday, right? Bow. Virasana, which is what you just did, that hero's pose. And as you come onto your back, we're going to start to support your hips. Now, as you worked your way through your practice, maybe you noted that you had really tight hip flexors or quads. One thing you can do for your bridge is take those blocks underneath you, as high as they go. We're all going to land somewhere different. But one option is to take one leg at a time, reach for your foot, and draw the top of your toes. Some of us are going to get tops of feet, not me, by the way, yet. And as you engage your glutes and press that hip to the sky, you're going to find a little deeper stretch, or a lot deeper, honestly. So that's one way. As you start to release the weight of your knee towards the ground, maybe you're wiggling your foot. Over time, you might find your shin on the floor. Not likely to happen if you're me. You get the gist. If you're working that because you have super tight quads or hip flexors for any reason, you can stay and work there. If it's your low back that's typically a mess, keep the blocks, work your feet wide, and let the weight of your knees fall in. If maybe shoulders or planting your palms is the impediment to getting into your wheel, then we're going to bring the heels of our palms under. So coming on maybe to the balls of your feet, right? Heels of your palms work underneath the hips. And we start to work the elbows underneath us. So this is another option. You're going to notice you're a little higher than blocks typically get you, a little more room to stretch the front of your hips. 2. And then we're going to come on down. So that's the prep for your bridge and your wheel. We'll take bridge one more time, but come on down for a moment. Press the low of your back towards your mat. Belly tends to follow very gently. It's creating a little bit of neutral space there. Give your poor little quads a rest. So hopefully by the time we hit wheel, it's not going to feel like a whole big deal, right? Because you've really done all of the work, if not more than the work you'll find in wheel. So one more time, whether you got to shake up the legs, heels are below your knees are in line with your hips, and we're going to start to press. Now we want the range of motion in the shoulders, so again we want to lift the hips, but this time we're going to focus on pressing into the back of the head a little, so you're lifting up onto the tops of shoulders. Now I know you're trying to listen to me and maybe you're looking at the camera or whatever this is, a phone, computer, whatever you got going, but try to keep your gaze at the sky if you can and kind of just listen. We're going to wiggle as much on top of the shoulders as you can. Press those low ribs towards you. Press the hips to the sky. And then we're going to start to reach arms above us. Fingers are going to plant by the shoulders. Ideally, we're starting to plant the palms all the way down. Elbows are up, right? Not out nice and wide. Up so we can at least find the top of our head. It's not taking the majority of the weight, but it's there to help, right? Press your hips nice and high. Use the strength of legs. Really, it's from your glutes and the press of hips, and then we press the arms. 2. Remember, keep pressing the hips up. Use your glutes. Use a slow transition all the way down. And this time we're going to bring palms, your other palms, the soles of your feet to touch, and your knees to splay wide. Awesome. So maybe that was the first time you came to wheel and you had that moment you want to do it again. Absolutely. Remember, the focus is the press of the hips. Lifting the low ribs, you want as much length in the spine as you can get. And then, of course, a little extension of the arms. But really, if you put all that together, the extension of the arms really isn't a big deal. If you've done a couple of chaturangas, you're good to go. But I am going to invite you to take everything you've done, and we're going to do a forearm balance, which is a little easier than wheel, believe it or not. So tuck your knees. We're going to rock up through your seated, and we're going to move ourselves towards the wall. Make sure your wall is a little sturdy, or maybe your wall is a human. Either way. Doors tend to be, if you're in a regular apartment that's not your house and you don't know what they're made of, doors tend to be a little more solid. So take care first of your property and then take care of yourself. I tend to use a block so that you can't move the hands in. If I set up dolphin and we start to come up, our fingers start to go like this often. So you can set that block up against a wall. If you're feeling a little bit slippery, you can bring your mat with you. I'm not terribly sweaty at the moment. Remember, you're going to frame the block with your thumb and your pointers. You're going to set up those dolphin arms, and you're going to look up between the thumbs. You're going to think wheel. You're going to think locust. You're going to curl your toes and drive your sits bones to the sky. And then slowly, one leg comes up, and you take a little hop, or 2, and then you come on down. So maybe just something to play with. That might have felt 10 times easier than your wheel. Okay, so remember, think about pressing the hips, engaging your glutes, and having a little bit of fun. All right, so you can watch this video as many times as you'd like. Make sure that you kind of give yourself a little bit of space if you've gotten to that point where you're a little shaky. Call it quits for now and try it again tomorrow or a little bit later, all right? So be safe, and we'll see you soon. Toodles.